Hi everybody, Amalie Howard here, and I'm reading to you from my middle grade debut, Bumps in the Night. I'm very excited to read the first chapter for you. Again, I'm Amalie Howard, and I'm reading from Bumps in the Night. Pride and punishment. Airports have to be the first things to go in an apocalypse. From the plane's window, I watch a 5-year-old pick his nose a few feet in front of me before using those same wet, goopy fingers to grab the handrail as he and his parents exit down the rollaway stairs. I cringe, reach for the hand sanitizer attached to my backpack and squeeze out a large dollop. I wrinkle my nose at the people swarming the aisle to leave the airplane, where they'll be touching that same booger rail. It only takes one infected person and bam, mass contagion. That kid could be patient zero, and within seconds, everyone's hungry for each other's brains. Instant zombie apocalypse. Not that zombies exist, but a girl can't be too careful. Stepping through the rounded plane door, I blink at the thick, glary heat blasting into my face at the top of the stairs. Holy melting Skittle Farms, the Caribbean is hot. Not bone-dry summer hot, but sticky, humid, take a dozen showers to stay cool hot. Already my armpits are sweating into the cotton of my tank top, and I've only just arrived at the destination indicated on my plane ticket, tucked in the front pocket of my backpack. Port of Spain, it reads, the capital of Trinidad and Tobago. Might as well say port of prison, because that's what Granny's house will be, my jail cell for the next 3 months. It had been her idea when my dad called a month ago out of frustration. I had been written up again for vandalism, though no charges had been passed against me by my school, thank goodness. But I'd been royally grounded. No phone, no drawing tablet, no anything. I couldn't text friends, I couldn't sketch, couldn't even use my computer to game. And now I've been banished to another country for the whole summer without any of my stuff. To be fair, I knew this was coming. This was the last straw. Those words replay in my mind in Dad's grim voice, and my heart squashes in my chest. I could have done my homework, gotten better grades, stopped cutting school, and not drawn on public property. Stop feeling sorry for yourself, Rika, I tell myself. 3 months is nothing. Get over it. Sure, 3 months of trying not to die of boredom. And who knows what Granny has planned? She's a weathered battle axe who lives on an estate in the middle of nowhere, grows her own fruit in a massive orchard, sews her own clothes, and is just weird. I used to think she was made of magic when I was younger, that she had eyes in the back of her head that saw everything. She'd tell me stories about witchcraft that would have my spine curling and my blood crawling. Myths of monsters and jumbies, creepy lost children called douans, whose feet faced backwards, a shape-shifting woman called La Diablesse, who came in the night to steal the souls of children, only she said it like La Diablesse. I remember shivering in terrified delight when Granny teased that kids' bones were always soft and delicious. I used to live for her tales, but I guess they're about as real as zombies. Now I can only think about the fact that Granny has no internet. I'll be cut off from everything and everyone, and by the time summer ends, in this heat, I'm probably going to be dissolved into a sad puddle of melty goo that no one back home will even recognize. On cue, a hot gust steams into my entire body like it's cackling in the face of my epic pity party. And I sigh. Even the weather is against me. I give a half-hearted wave to the airline representative waiting at the base of the rollaway stairs and force my legs to move. It feels like I'm moving through syrup in the heat. Miss Loveless Rose, the woman says when I reach the bottom. Mom always said names have power, and apparently ours does, so Loveless Rose it is. I nod. That's me. Unaccompanied minor and future goo puddle. Unwanted miscreant in trouble with a capital T. Welcome to Trinidad and Tobago, she says, her accent soft and musical. Tanya, her name tag reads. That starts with T too. I wonder if she ever got sent away by her dad to some strange place when she was younger. She's beautiful, tall with brown skin, several shades darker than mine, and a red-lipped smile that's so wide it makes you want to grin back. I'm not ready to stop sulking, so I mumbled non-committal responses to her friendly questions about the flight and whether I'd been to Trinidad before. Yes, it was fine. I don't want to be here. Once, a few years ago, my life officially sucks. After we get to the lines at immigration where my passport is scrutinized and stamped, Tanya eyes me. "It says here in my packet that a Mrs. Lovelace will be meeting you," she asks. My grandmother. "Okay, let's get your baggage, then wait for her." This airport is much smaller than the one I left from in the United States, and the large open windows let in a warm breeze that smells of a rainstorm and fresh-tilled earth. Colorful brown-green foliage sways in the distance, a rise of darker purple-hued mountains looming behind it. A plump lizard sunning on one of the sills catches my attention. Nope, not a lizard, more like a baby iguana. As long as my forearm from elbow to wrist, it's a brilliant green with black tail markings and looks like a miniature dragon without the wings. For an instant, its eye connects with mine until a long pink tongue slicks over it, which is somehow simultaneously gross and kind of adorable. Keeping my face stoic, I look away. I don't want to be charmed by or like anything about this place. Not the cool reptiles, not the fresh smells, not the friendly, smiling faces like Tanya's. Last time I was here, I was 9. More than 3 years ago, before Mom left, before Dad got remarried to Cassie, before my stepbrothers Max and Theo came, before everything in my life went downhill. I stare at my stuffed sneakers, feeling sorry for myself again, when the hairs on the back of my neck stand up. Shuddering and resisting the urge to rub my nape, I glance over my shoulder. My gaze instantly snags on a thin face but gorgeous woman with her hair scraped back beneath a wide-brimmed hat sauntering through the crowd. My adrenaline spikes, like when you enter a pitch-black room and can't find the light switch, or right before the jump scare you know is coming in a scary movie. As she sails past me, her floor-length red gown, way too fancy for the airport, my skin crawls. Something about her feels off. A strange noise fills my ears like a swarm of buzzing flies, or the faint rattle of chains. Stomach rolling, stark terror grips me in a giant fist. My breath stutters in my throat, and I drop my eyes. "Don't look at me, don't look at me, don't look at me," I chant silently. On instinct, I shift so I'm hidden behind Tanya's ample form, out of the woman's sight, though I can still see her. Her flowy old-style dress reminds me of a fancy ball gown, and her face is so still it's unnerving. Those wide-set eyes don't blink, and her mouth doesn't move in that gruesome rictus. I narrow my gaze. Her chest doesn't move either, for that matter. Why isn't she breathing? Is she dead? Undead? When a pair of milky eyes sweeps in my directions, every muscle in my quaking body locks up. Oh my gosh, why can't I move my feet anymore? I feel a sticky, soupy energy reaching for me like a dozen pairs of tentacles with long, twisty feelers that are going to grab me and gobble me whole. Trolleys clang behind me and I nearly jump a foot into the air. I let out a small gasp, and that's enough for her to swing around. My heart thrashes behind my ribs as the sensation of 100 spiders scuttles under my skin, and fight or flight kicks in half a second too late. Everything feels foul. I want to scream for help, call for my dad, and beg him to bring me home. Offer up anything. Eternity in my room, babysitting duty for life. I just want out of here, but my shoes are glued to the floor. My body is frozen in a trance, legs like iron weights, dread thickening in my throat with every manic thump of my heart. I stay close to Tanya and try not to breathe or attract any more notice, but the sound of those chains rattling nears, coming for me. Suddenly, something bright green launches across my vision, breaking through the weird spell holding me in its webby grip. As my limbs graciously loosen from their corpse-like hold, I see a black and green banded tail swish out of sight. My breath whooshes out. "Thanks, little guy." That slimy sensation eases as the woman strolls in the opposite direction, eyes probing the crowd, probably looking for her next meal. Waiting to strike when you least expect it, like a monster that hides in the closet or sleeps under the bed. Monsters aren't real, Rika. But even after reminding myself of that rational fact a few more times for good measure, my pulse won't quit racing. Reminiscing about Granny's old stories and the shape-shifting spirit who eats people's souls had gotten under my skin. I suppress a quiver. That woman had definitely looked like she'd enjoy a good souled buffet with a serving of soft, fresh kid bones on the side. A snicker of nervous laughter bubbles up in me and I shake my head. "Get a grip, girl." Did you say something there? Tanya asks. Nope, I mutter. Flight 1214 from Denver, Colorado on Carousel 2, a voice intones through the airport speakers. As we head that way, the ground beneath us abruptly starts to rumble. People around us shriek and Tanya grabs hold of me. But the quake is over before I can fully flip out. What was that? I yelp. A man next to me with dark brown skin and the longest locks I've ever seen clutches his arms to his chest and gives a loud moan. Is because Papa Boy run and gone. I blink my confusion, more at the thick Trinidadian dialect than the words, but Tanya sniffs. Blame climate change for those earthquakes, not folklore. Curious, I asked the man, Papa what? King of the forest, the Obi man says something wrong and we paying for it. Tanya tugs at my arms with a scoff. Come dear, don't waste your time with him. Some people will just say anything to explain away science. She sucks air and saliva through her teeth, making a vexed sound that Granny says people here call us stoops. It's not obia, it's people killing the planet. But even with Tanya's logical explanation, I can't help but shiver at the man's choice of words. Now that I think of it, Granny had also mentioned Papa Bois, the protector of the woods, who was a shapeshifter with horns and a beard of leaves. And even I know that the premonition of the Obi man, a master of witchcraft, is something islanders here take seriously. My mind immediately hitches on the milky-eyed woman and whatever spell that had come over me. What if she was actually one of them? One of the folklore come to life? A monster in disguise hunting in plain sight? Or maybe your brain needs a snack and a nap, Rika. Chill. We head over to the baggage carousel, and when my suitcase finally appears, I yank it off the belt, eager to put some distance between me and the eerie strangers in here. Okay, I've got my luggage, I tell Tanya, my skin still crawling. Can we leave? She smiles. I bet you're excited to get out of this crowded airport and see your grandmother. Let's go. I swallow a snarky reply that I'd much rather get back on the airplane and go home to Colorado than follow her in silence. While we make our way through the jam-packed space with people yelling about their bags and piling carts towering high with suitcases, I make sure to keep my body angled close to Tanya's just in case. Thankfully, we pass through customs in a flash since I have nothing to declare. The only contraband I've stashed is a dozen bags of assorted candy for personal consumption. We hustle out of the airport into the waiting area beyond, and there's my grandmother, front and center with a huge smile on her weathered face, holding a big cardboard sign saying, Welcome, Derica Lovelace. Guess she forgot the rose. Despite last seeing her when I was 9, she looks the same, tiny, fierce, and striking. Her thick curly hair is tied back, her brown face open and kindly, dark eyes twinkling. She confirms her identification with Tanya and signs some paperwork before returning to me. Rika love! Hey, Granny, I say, smiling at the old nickname as she gathers me into a rib-crushing hug. The familiar scent of her, sweet spices, sunshine, and baby powder, is instantly comforting, making my eyes wet once more with stupid tears. Hesitantly, I wrap one arm awkwardly around her small frame. At least someone in the family wants me around. Come, let me look at you, Doodoo darling, she says in that deep sing-song voice I love, holding me in front of her by the sides of my arms and twirling me around. A smile tugs my lips at the Trinidadian endearment for sweetie. We might not have seen each other in years, but she does call for my birthday and other holidays and make sure Dad buys me presents from her every year. Child, you're bigger than me now. How old are you these days? Nearly 13, I say. Hooray for end of summer birthdays, which always makes me the youngest in my grade. Not. You resemble your father, but I see my Dulcie in you too. She grins, the lines bracketing her mouth and eyes crinkling as she scans my hair and tugs on an unruly lock that looks just like hers. Like my mom's, too. Granny reaches for my suitcase with one hand and grasps my palm firmly in the other. Come. Bex is waiting with the truck outside. Who's Bex? My foreman and handyman around the place. You name it, he does it. We head through the wide exit doors. Standing next to the truck is the biggest man I've ever seen, wearing a singlet tank top and faded overalls. His dark brown shoulders are hunched slightly, as though he wants to make himself smaller and less noticeable. It doesn't really work. Even his muscles have muscles. And his arms are as thick as my waist. Mr. Rika, pleased to meet you. Hi, Mr. Bex, I greet him, feeling instantly at ease seeing his warm smile. I wonder if he's also a bodyguard or something. Not that Granny would need one, but still, he's practically a mountain. Nice to meet you too. It's just Bex, miss, he says. Mr. Bex was my pups. For a moment, his cheery tone makes me forget my salt fest as I climb into the back seat of the old truck and wait for him to stow my luggage in the trunk. Can't believe Granny still drives this. Last time I was in it, we rode up the mountains to my favorite beach here, Maracas Bay, on the north side of the island. Powdery white sand with awesome waves and some of the best shark and bake sandwiches I've ever eaten. My mouth waters at the thought of food. I decided to ask if we can stop for my favorite Trini street food called doubles. 2 round, soft, fried pieces of fried dough with curried chickpeas between them, when the crawly sensation of spiders races over my skin again. Granny is standing at the passenger door, her body immobile, tension coiling over her. I turn in slow motion to see her stare locked on the woman in the hat and the flowing dress. My pulse thunders in my ears and I dig my fingers into the car seats. Did she follow me? Recoiling, I hold my breath as time contracts and drops to a crawl. My grandmother's lip curls ever so slightly, the sound of a snarl so soft that no one else would have heard it escape, and I feel the menace unroll in the pit of my stomach like 2 alpha predators facing off in the wild. Wait, does Granny know her? I squint, staring boldly at the woman in red now that I'm safe in the truck. Glittering pale eyes crash into mine, and in that moment I realize how wrong I was earlier. She's not scary. She's friendly. Her face is so lovely that I actually sigh with longing. I'm overwhelmed by the biggest urge to run over and give her a hug. I want her to like me more than anything. She smiles and I instantly smile back, delighted that I've caught her attention. Go now, Granny hollers at Beck, swinging her lithe frame into the front seat. And the odd eye contact between the woman and me breaks. I blink rapidly, my brain foggy as though I'm waking up from a deep sleep, and I swear I could hear a shriek of rage on the wind. Who is that, Granny? I mumble, feeling disoriented. The lady you were staring at. She was so beautiful. Her piercing gaze swivels to mine. A puff of air escapes Granny's lips, alarm flashing in her stare for a hot second before she turns back around, fingers toying with a bracelet of red and black beads she's always worn for protection around her wrists. She's no one. Forget her. I flinch at the sharp rebuke, but shrug it off. Yeah, whatever, Granny. Blowing out a sullen breath, I distract myself with the landscape. Some of the roads look familiar as we leave the airport, driving past open tracts of land filled with neat rows of sugarcane and thatches of bamboo. A new gas station and what looks like a strip mall comes into view. At the main intersection, we take a left and get on the highway. Compared to the 6-lane interstate I'm used to in Colorado, this one's tiny, and we swerve madly to avoid the gigantic potholes in the road. Now, those I remember. My mom used to joke about losing half your car in them, and that driving here when she was a girl was practically a survival of the luckiest obstacle course. As we drive, I can't help noticing that a lot of the green fields seem brown and withered, almost like the island had suffered a dreadful drought. It makes me think of the earthquake and what Tanya had said about climate change, or missing Papa Bois, who might be responsible for it all, according to that man at the airport anyway. My dad's a researcher for the United States Department of Agriculture, so he's always firing off facts about climate change and how we're destroying the world with our eyes wide open. He insists the government should be more active about slowing down its effects, and I bet he'd be tickled to know that some of the people here were blaming global warming on local folklore. Biting back my own snort, I stare at the passing neighborhoods, noticing how other things have changed. Bigger buildings dwarf little ones, and shantytowns are huddled in between upscale housing developments and the rural areas with wide-reaching sugarcane fields. A huge mountain range swells to the right, cradling the pockets of towns that we pass through, and before long, we're pulling into the long driveway leading up to my grandmother's expansive property in the mountains called the Northern Range. Look, we reach home, Beck says, the truck rolling to a stop in the cobblestone courtyard with a crumbling well at its center. I can't believe it's still standing. When I was small, I used to dump my mom's spare change in it every day in exchange for wishes, back when I used to believe in things like magic. But everyone knows that wishes are useless. If they weren't, Mom would still be around. Maybe she might have taken me to New York and I'd be living with her, not banished here. Maybe I wouldn't be so messed up and life would be perfect. I bite my lip and drag a fist along my chest, rubbing the ache there. Sighing, I exit the car and stretch my sore legs, stuffing my sadness down to where it doesn't hurt quite so much. Trudging up old memories about Mom won't help anyone, but my brain doesn't listen, caught up in them. Mom dancing with me in the same courtyard. Mom telling me to make a wish. Mom being my mom. With a sniff, I fish for a coin in my backpack and toss it in. I wish you were here. Despite my efforts to hold back my tears, moisture leaks from the corners of my eyes. My plea will never come true. None of this matters anyway because Mom's been taking a break for 2 years, according to my dad, and she's probably never coming back, no matter how much I hope she will. I swipe an arm across my face. Are you okay, lovey? Granny says, coming to stand beside me next to the old wishing well. I tug on the frayed rope attached to the rusty bucket. I guess I just miss Mom. We all do, she says, but now that you're here, I'll bring her back soon. That frustrated stoop sound escapes her, and I peer up at her with a curious frown. It's the exact same sound Tanya made, and Granny looks furious with herself, which means she said something she hasn't meant to say. My heart begins to pound. Last Dad told me Mom was in New York, but what if she's here? Granny, is Mom in Trinidad right now? Her face tightens as she stalks away, leaving me in a state of stunned disbelief. She didn't say no. My mother, whom I haven't seen in years, might be on this very island at the same time as me. My brain trips trying to process the information. Does Dad know? Is that why he sent me here? A tiny seed of wonder unfurls in my chest, making my banishment suddenly not seem so horrible, because if Mom's around, that changes everything. Hope and excitement burst inside me like twin flames. Wait, Granny, where is she? I ask, hurrying to where she's hauling bags of groceries from the bed of the truck and muttering to herself. She looks vexed, but I press on. Can I see her? No, forget I said anything. It's complicated. I growl and grind my back teeth. I hate that word, complicated. It's the one adults use when they think you're too silly or too young to understand. As Granny marches towards the house, my hands curl into fists and raw determination roars through me. I can be stubborn too. Because if my mom is anywhere on this island, I don't care how complicated it is, I'm going to find her.